yeah, this is a solid pool to be in terms of mitigating against a permanent loss, because all of them are pretty intimately tied together. And then especially a pool like the RHMaxi pool, where pretty much all of these are moving up together. And if you don't really believe in, say, like EHEX or INC, it's only 15% of the pool, so it weighing the dollar value of your position down in terms of impermanent loss is limited to 15% of your position, rather than 50-50 rather than 50-50.
Yeah, I still like on PulseX though, doing the pools that are the pools that are each other, either Pulse and PulseX, or PulseX and Inc, or Pulse and Inc, that kind of stuff. In this system, it seems like you're betting on, I mean, the permanent loss is sort of more spread around and stuff, but also you're earning Inc. I guess if you're doing the RHMax on PHUX, are you just betting that PHUX's price is going to go up more than Inc? Or I don't know. I guess what factors in the decision between using the two platforms with the RHMaxi tokens?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, the APRs are different. So for the PulseX, I believe the APR is like 15-16%, something like that. And so just by the current prices that they are right now, 12%. It's 12% right now, and then the Hex Pulse is 18%. So just based on the current prices, if you're selling your yield fairly consistently, the PHUX pool is paying out more right now from that perspective. Now
you got the big 12% from that one, but also you got 77% for the Inc pools.
Yeah. So in those Inc pools, you are taking a little bit more risk on them with the PLX and Pulse and the Hex and Wrap Pulse LP, just because Inc is a more volatile asset based because of its emission rate, and the fact that people get it and dump it a lot. So it's a pretty volatile one. So the impermanent loss in either direction is going to be a little bit more severe versus it being cut off right here. Now there is one big difference between the two places, and that is the amount of liquidity that there is. So there's $22 million of liquidity in PulseX Pulse, and there's 15 million in Hex Wrap Pulse. But here the pool only has 3 million. So your ability to enter and provide a ton of liquidity in the PHUX pool, if you're only bringing one asset, is fairly limited, just because of the amount of liquidity that's there. So if you're a big Pulse sacrificer, not a big PulseX sacrificer, and not a big PHEX holder, you're not going to be able to get in a lot of your tokens. Versus with the PulseX pool, you'll be able to swap more of your Pulse tokens into PulseX in order to enter that liquidity pool. The slippage is lower. So that I would say actually that's one main big difference, is that the not the volume, but the liquidity is much lower, so it makes it harder for larger players to enter. Where was I going with that? But if you're spreading your coins out amongst different LP pools in the farms, it does kind of make it similar to the PHUX pool in a way. I think I don't know if the impermanent loss works out exactly the same, but for all intents and purposes, like if I was advising somebody, it kind of works out the same. So it just depends on, do you want to accumulate the PHUX token, or do you want to accumulate the Inc token over time? Kind of like what your question was getting at, Max. For me, I kind of gear more towards the PHUX pool just because of simplicity. So I can take my money, I can just buy a bunch of Pulse, and then I can put it in this pool, and I get all the assets, rather than having to buy the different assets and then figure out the ratios myself to get it 50-50 to put into the farms in the Inc pool. But if I wanted to accumulate more Inc, that's what I would be doing. So it's more of a personal choice than a absolute answer, if that makes sense. Sorry, I was a little long-winded there.
There are definitely more clicks. I mean, one day PulseX will it'll be the shining beautiful, perfect thing that we were waiting for 2 years. But right now, there's a lot of clicks to add more stuff. I know, especially when you're recompounding, especially when you're earning Inc and you want to turn it back in. Like, okay, now let me do some math. Okay, let me click like 6 buttons and let me confirm 3 times. There's a lot to it, but definitely like the way the PHUX makes it. Just the fact that you can, it'll auto balance between the assets. You don't need to buy everything. That makes it cool. Although, there's only 2 assets that you can put up liquidity for on PulseX, but still, there's a lot of cool features that the PHUX provides. That, no wonder it's got a lot of volume and pull values and TBL in it right now.
Yep.
So can anybody make a pool like this on PHUX, or is there fixed pools?
Yep. Anybody can make a pool. You can make one right now, and if you go to the pools max and you just start scrolling down, you'll see there's some with like I'm looking at some with like 600, or not, like a couple $1,000, a couple $100 of liquidity down there. So anybody can make a pool with any tokens at any weighting, but the pools that are incentivized are picked by the team, and then the community who has the has the VFUX, the people who have those, they vote on the weighting of those rewards.
So many artists in the community with these names. Don't even know if some of them are. Don't know what some of them. Afraid to ask what some of them mean.
Tang gang.
Wow. Okay, I'm behind on that one. All right.
There it is, Richard versus SEC. Richard Bridge stablecoin. That's another cool thing is you can put the liquidity pool token in its own liquidity pool as well. So a lot of people are taking that Bridge stablecoin pool and using that as the liquidity token within their stuff.